Welcome! We are diving straight into something that is literally changing the DNA of how businesses operate today. In this explainer, we're looking at the evolution of work, how we're taking those mind-numbing manual tasks and turning them into pure magic using n8n and AI automation. If you've ever felt like you're just a robot at your desk, doing the exact same repetitive thing every single day, well, it's time to stop being the robot and start building one instead. Let's get into it.
So I've got to ask you a hard question. Are you still manually copy-pasting data every single day? Just think about the absolute biggest pain points in your current workflow, or even your clients' workflows. We're talking about dragging an email attachment to a folder, copying a lead's name into a random spreadsheet, or pasting that exact same standard reply on WhatsApp for the 100th time. It's a massive time sink, it drains your energy, and frankly, you are capable of so much more. Now I want you to imagine a system that just handles all of that for you, completely silently, in the background.
Because there's a massive shift happening right in front of us. The old way of working, it's completely manual, painfully slow, and, let's face it, highly prone to human error. You get tired, you make a typo, you have to sleep. But the automated way, it's lightning fast, hyper-efficient, and it runs 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It doesn't need a coffee break, and it literally never drops the ball. We are basically trading in an exhausting, outdated way of working for an absolute superpower.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. We're going to cover what automation actually is, the basics of triggers and actions, building complex AI agents, using RAG technology to deeply understand your data, and finally, exactly how to price these automation projects to build a massive business.
All right, Section 1. What is automation and how does it solve business problems? At its very core, automation is all about fixing real-world bottlenecks. I really don't want you to look at n8n as just some cool piece of software. It is a powerful toolkit for solving massive business headaches. It slashes repetitive work, cuts down operating costs, and frees up actual human beings to focus on high-level strategy instead of mindless data entry. It is a business solution, first and foremost.
Moving on to Section 2, the system basics, triggers and actions. To build these amazing solutions in n8n, there are really only two fundamental building blocks you need to wrap your head around. Once you master these two things, you can build pretty much anything you can imagine.
Okay, so a trigger is simply the event that kicks off the workflow. It's the spark. It could be something as simple as the clock hitting 8 a.m., a new row popping up in a Google Sheet, or receiving a new text on Telegram. Then you have the action. The action is the specific task the system performs in response to that trigger, like sending an email or updating a database. So the absolute golden rule to remember here is that every single automation in the world is just a combination of, when this trigger happens, execute this action.
Let's break this down with a super simple example to really lock it in. Imagine a restaurant. Let's go with the Krusty Krab. Squidward is working the register, and you know he's terrible at keeping track of inventory. Customers order burgers, and boom, suddenly they're completely out of ingredients. But we can automate this entire headache in n8n. Step 1, a burger is ordered which logs data into their system. Step 2, the stock level in our Google Sheet drops to a critical minimum threshold, and boom, there is our trigger. Step 3, an automated action instantly fires off, sending an email directly to the supplier to restock. Mr. Krab saves money, and Squidward doesn't even have to lift a finger. It's just simple, highly effective automation. And look, that simple if this, then that logic is fantastic. It saves hundreds of hours, and it is incredibly powerful. But what happens when we literally give this system a brain? What happens when we inject artificial intelligence directly into this workflow? I'll tell you what happens. The scale of what we can achieve absolutely skyrockets.
That brings us to Section 3, AI agents, which are the more complex solution. We are stepping way beyond just telling a system to follow strict, rigid rules. By bringing AI into n8n, what we call AI automation, we are giving the system the actual ability to think, to analyze data, to have full conversations, and to make dynamic decisions on the fly based on messy, unstructured data.
So let's look at a much more complex example straight from our source material to really deepen our understanding. Imagine a real estate company. They get hammered with hundreds of messages every single day from people wanting to buy or rent. But let's be honest, half of them aren't even serious. We can build an AI agent as a Telegram bot to handle this entire mess. The flow looks like this. The bot receives a message, there's our trigger, but then the AI steps in and actually analyzes the intent of that message. It dynamically starts asking qualifying questions like, hey, are you looking to buy or rent? Or what's your exact budget? It's gathering this data in real time, it scores the lead based on how they answer, And then, for the action, it saves that beautifully structured, clean data right into a Google Sheet.
The real magic here is that the AI acts as a relentless, ultra-smart filter. We can easily configure n8n to only save and forward leads that achieve an AI-generated score of over 80. Just think about the absolute superpower this gives a business. The human sales team completely stops wasting their precious time talking to unqualified leads. Instead, they wake up, open their laptops, and only speak to high-value customers who are primed and ready to buy. It's a total game changer.
Now, on to Section 4, RAG technology for understanding data, or building the ultimate brain. Because there's a massive challenge here, right? If we're letting AI talk directly to our customers, what if it just flat out lies? What if it hallucinates or quotes outdated prices from 3 years ago? Well, that's exactly where RAG, Retrieval Augmented Generation, comes into play.
Let's break down the difference. A standard off-the-shelf AI model is going to hallucinate. If a customer asks your restaurant bot for the price of a pea burger, the AI might just confidently make up a price because it saw a recipe on some random blog once. You absolutely cannot have that happening in a real business environment. RAG fixes this entire problem. RAG puts guardrails on the AI. It forces the AI to completely ignore the general internet and only read from your specific, customized, trusted business documents. It guarantees the AI is completely accurate to your specific business.
So, how does this complex pipeline actually run inside n8n? Think of it like taking a massive 1,000-page instruction book and preparing it for a lightning-fast librarian. Step 1 is document ingestion. Basically, we just upload your PDF. Step 2 is chunking, where we slice that massive text up into perfect, bite-sized paragraphs. Step 3 is embeddings. This is where we use AI to translate the meaning of those paragraphs into mathematical numbers, called vectors. Step 4, we store all those numbers securely in a vector database. And finally, Step 5, query matching. When a customer asks a question, the system instantly finds the mathematically closest paragraph, pulls that exact chunk of text, hands it to the AI agent, and says, "Hey, answer the customer using only this specific paragraph." Zero hallucination, just pure factual accuracy.
All right, moving to our final section, how to price automation projects, or as I like to call it, the payoff. You now know exactly how to build these massive AI agents, but how do you translate these skills into an actually lucrative career selling them to real businesses?
Well, the profit margins here are just absolutely incredible. For you, the operating costs are unbelievably low. Hosting n8n on a server and covering the API usage fees for the AI usually tops out at around $50 to $80 a month total. I mean, it's literal pennies. But on the flip side, the business value you are handing to your client, the countless hours saved, the drastic reduction in human error, the fact that you're giving them 24/7 lead qualification, that value is absolutely massive.
And that brings us directly to this huge number, 100,000. Look, if your custom AI system saves a large e-commerce company $100,000 or pounds or whatever currency every single month because you completely streamlined their customer support and automated their stock management, you do not charge them $5 an hour for your time. You are delivering $100,000 in recurring value. You absolutely must use value-based pricing. If you quote them $10,000 for the entire project, that client is literally making their money back in days. It is the ultimate win-win scenario.
Let me show you how this plays out in the real world. There's a brilliant example from our source material about a guy named Abdallah. He had a client who came to him just wanting a really basic system to sort some real estate listings. But Abdallah dug deeper. He understood the client's true problem wasn't just data sorting, they desperately needed a better way to engage their customers. So what did he do? He invented a brand new solution. Instead of just sorting spreadsheets, he upsold them an entire AI chatbot for WhatsApp. He took a tiny project and turned it into a massive $1,000-plus engagement. He focused heavily on the return on investment, he intentionally underpromised on the timeline so he could overdeliver a flawless product, and the client was absolutely thrilled.
If you take one thing away from this explainer, I want you to burn this golden rule into your brain. Don't price by the hour. Price by the massive value and return on investment you bring to the business. Sure, it might only take you 20 hours to actually build out the workflow in n8n, but the solution you are deploying is going to work for them forever, 24/7. It's effectively replacing entire manual departments. That level of efficiency is incredibly valuable, and as someone putting in the work to master this technology, you 100% deserve to be compensated for that massive value.
So, I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought. If a customized AI agent in n8n can actually learn your private data using RAG, perfectly qualify your incoming leads, flawlessly manage your stock, and literally do the manual work of an entire human team 24/7 without breaking a sweat? What are you going to automate tomorrow? The tools are sitting right there in front of you. Open up n8n, start building your very first workflow, and seriously, go transform the way the world works. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I honestly can't wait to see what you build.